Welcome, everyone, to the Tethys Shipyards. I am Takeshi Yamato, the Yardmaster, joining our host, the Housecoat Gamer. Today, we are taking a look at the Matsumoto-Class starship, the latest TMP era design out of Star Trek Online, and somewhat based off of the Akira model. But it's still...
somewhat a little too popular. I mean, people make TOS versions of this thing all the time, and that's kind of depressing.
Yeah.
But to the lore. The rising tensions of the 2270s and 2280s forced the Federation's Starfleet to invest in a new series of starships. 1. To replace the Constitution-Class. 2. To provide a bulwark against, well, the Klingons and Romulans. As everyone is well aware, the Excelsior-Class would succeed in all three, becoming the backbone of Starfleet. But during the 70s and 80s, this was an open question. And 3 starships, alongside the Excelsior, would come to answer it. 1 was the Constellation-Class, which would fall into obscurity until Jean-Luc Picard's Stargazer entered the fray, but that's another story. The other is the Georgiou-Class, also fated to become obscure. However, a more conservative design came from the Andorian shipyards. Inspired by Japanese media, at least when it came to the name, was the Matsumoto-Class. It didn't have to be transwarp capable. It didn't have to be anything. All it had to do was a job. And it would serve that job quite well. Although elements of the Georgiou-Class were introduced, primarily the octuple torpedo launcher in the roll bar. Because that's 4 torpedo tubes.
Yeah.
Per arc. As well as heavy pulse phaser cannons in the nose, mounted in turrets. And a unique sort of weapon system. A small craft designated primarily as a fighter. However, as an independent starship, it wouldn't really be counted as a fighter, but more a cutter. But that's spacecraft classification.
Yeah.
The unique design of this vessel prompted some issues. Primarily, how the hell are you going to launch fighters? 3 separate hangar bays were installed to resolve that problem, as well as a rear-facing retrieval bay.
Yep.
Of course, the Matsumoto had so many problems that it was decided it was just simpler to not build them, especially after the Khitomer Accords came out.
Yeah.
And there was a massive naval tonnage implication. So, yeah. The Matsumoto went bye-bye and was mothballed until the 2340s, when it was decided they needed more combat-focused vessels. The end result was the Matsumoto-inspired Akira-Class.
Yep.
As for the Matsumoto herself, she is currently sitting in the Fleet Museum at 8th and Prime.
Yep.
An example of too ambitious for the time, but then again, isn't everything?
Yeah, fair enough. Alright, so, for starting this thing, we are starting with the Akira and downgrading. So, the Akira was 2368, this is 2287. 16 minus 8 is 8, so that's 8. So basically we've got 8 points to reduce The Akira had comms 9, computers 9, engines 9, sensors 9, structure 10, weapons 11.
I don't see much point in changing that. They're just going to have to be downgraded for the time.
Yeah. So we need to reduce this by 8 points.
Question is how.
Yeah. I'm thinking at least 1 point each from computers, engines, and sensors. Bring those all down to 8. 8. 8. 8. Now, structure and weapons. Again, at least 1 point from each, 9 and 10 respectively. Though we could do 2 from each, or 3 from one and 1 from the other.
Not entirely sure.
Right. Or 9 and 10. We could also drop points from, like, comms, computers, or sensors.
Well,
Again,
she's
we're...
more a combat ship than anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at it. She's armed with heavy pulse phasers, 8 photon torpedo launchers.
Yeah, weapons 10 is probably good for it. So, let's see. Comms 7, computers is 7?
That'll do.
Alright, comms 7, computers 7, engines 8, sensors 8, structure 9, weapons 10. That seems appropriate for the era.
Indeed.
Now, department-wise, the Akira had 2 points in security and 1 point in medicine.
Engineering. This is a very experimental design and not exactly designed for exploration.
Right, so 2 points in security, 1 point in engineering, or the other way around?
1 point in engineering.
Alright, 2 points in security, 1 point in engineering. Now, for weapons, I've already downgraded a little bit. The Akira had phaser arrays and photon torpedoes. I've gone down to phaser banks, and the Akira had phaser arrays and quantum torpedoes. I reduced this to phaser banks and photon torpedoes. Scale 5 starship still, and strength 4 tractor beam.
Very well.
Should I add phaser cannons as well? Because you did mention those.
Well, they're still more like beam array, like beam cannons more than actual pulse cannons.
Okay, so phaser banks. And for talents, the Akira had ablative armor, extensive shuttle bays, and rapid fire torpedo launcher. I say probably keep the extensive shuttle bays and rapid fire torpedo launcher, but probably not the ablative armor.
She certainly doesn't look the part. I mean, look at all that pearlescent plating.
Yeah. Rapid fire torpedo launcher. And no, no descriptor traits beyond Federation starship, and no special rules.
Well, there might be a launch problem. I mean, just look at the chaotic arrangement of those launchers.
Possibly. I'm not sure how to apply that. We'll leave that up to the viewers to give us ideas. Please.
We're gonna need them.
Yeah. We haven't gotten all that much feedback on any of these, but again, please, if you have ideas, give them to us.
I suppose that's the end of the Matsumoto. The Proto-Akira. In more ways than one.
Yep.
Bye bye.